Hello! I wanted to talk to you about the monsters in Doctor Who. My favourites from when I was young were the various monsters in rubber suits. Some of the best creatures came out in those days in the 70s and early 80s. The Zygons, the Marshmen, Silurians, Sea Devils, and three of those they've brought back since, they were so good. Nowadays, instead of full rubber suits, they have a habit of using prosthetic heads for the monsters, while having the monsters wear clothes such as the Ood. Because obviously aliens are just as ashamed of their own bodies as we are. Maybe we took body shaming out into the galaxy. The Daleks have been around since the second ever story of Doctor Who, back in late 1963. It's a myth, of course, that they can't go upstairs. They've been doing it in the comics since the 60s and on TV since the 80s. When they came back with the new series, they were redesigned to look much more mobile tank-like with armour plating, and it was really cool. Then they tried in Matt Smith's time to produce a new style of Dalek, probably for merchandising purposes, and they got roundly hated by everyone. Well, we all make mistakes, as the Dalek said, climbing off the dustbin. The Cybermen have gone through so many variations on their design since they were created at the end of William Hartnell's time. Most of these redesigns, though, have been in order to try and make the costumes more comfortable for the actors having to wear them. Personally, I don't like the way the new series came up with this catchphrase of delete for the Cybermen to counterbalance the Daleks doing exterminate. It just sounds silly to me. The Cybermen were always more menacing when they were quieter, spoke very slowly and very hissy. That generally applies, though, to a lot of the monsters. Once they start speaking, they just become a villain looking different. On the subject of monsters talking, Doctor Who got round the issue of how is it that they all speak English by having this trick of the TARDIS or trick of the Doctors, whereby the companions will understand what all these aliens are saying to them. Which of course they have conveniently forgotten many times over the last 54 years, whenever it was convenient for the plot to do so. So you end up with some aliens that can't be understood at all, some aliens where they talk gibberish and only the Doctor can understand them, and some where they can all be understood. And then there are some stories where neither the Doctor nor the TARDIS are nearby at all, and yet the companion and the aliens can converse freely. Current Doctor Who showrunner Stephen Moffat has a habit of using childhood games or childhood scary things to create new monsters, such as what's the time Mr. Wolf turned into the Weeping Angels? You'll never look at a statue the same way again. Being scared of the shadows turned into the Vashta Narada, the shadows that would eat you. The fear of fear itself in the episode Listen, where there was a creature under the blankets. Or was there? And to scare the adults, he created the idea of the empty child, the gas mask child, that if it touched you, you turned into a creature like him. I remember after it showed, loads of kids were apparently running around going, "Are you my mummy?" and pointing at their parents and really unnerving them. More recently, he brought in the Silence, a creature where, although you can see it, the moment you stop seeing it, you forget that you've seen it, and they can be manipulating things all the time. Whatever they've done to you, you'll forget. The first monster to bring back the new series was an old monster, the Autons, the idea of shop dummies coming to life, and that they could be chilling with their blank faces. Some of the old monsters, though, were terrible. I mean, they may have been let down by budget or production quality, but take the Merca from Warriors of the Deep. It looked more like a reptile form of a pantomime horse, which effectively was how it worked. Full marks go to the producers for having tried to break up the human form in all the monsters, and occasionally they try to do it with the Mandrels in Nightmare of Eden and the Pteroleptals in The Visitation, but just don't look at the feet. They look terrible, and sometimes you can see the join of the head with the body. Occasionally, though, they got it right, and even with the rubber-suited monsters, a couple of those have come back because they're just such good designs, such as the Ice Warriors and the Zygons. I do hope they'll do more with the Ice Warriors sometime, and maybe bring back the Draconians from John Pertwee's time. Tom Baker may have been the longest-serving Doctor, but equally that meant that he probably had some of the worst monsters in his long tenure, including a talking cactus in Meglos and a strange blobby creature with a disturbing proboscis in The Creature from the Pit. We've had robots, androids, crystalline creatures, talking rocks, talking plants, slug-like creatures, and since the show's come back, all manner of creatures based on recognisable animals. Doctor Who is nothing if not imaginative. And here's to the next 54 years. That's all for this week. Goodbye.